What now?
Is it, have we got sound now? Or no?
Still no sound?
Mic test, mic test. Any sound? Anybody got a thumbs up? What's going on? Oh, we're good now?
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. I guess we'll start over again, since none of that was going to work for anybody. Well, thank you for joining, everybody. Thank you for letting us know about our technical difficulties. What I started off with was we do have the topic today talking about the influence of Sword World on media in Japan, video games, light novels, etc. But we're also here just kind of for Q&A as well. So we'll try and answer questions as we go along, and so we can talk about anything that's on everybody's mind, and or any questions we can answer as we go. To start off with, we do have a few announcements. One of them is we should be having a backer kit teaser page launching pretty soon. So it won't be the actual campaign, that's still next spring, but we're going to be working on a backer kit where we can start putting more of the updates, more of the information about the things that we're working on, and have a clear way for everybody to engage with us. We'll still have the Discord, we'll still be interacting with people there, but we know that we're eventually going to be launching on BackerKit, so we're going to be consolidating there. So we recommend signing up on our email list or being in our Discord. But our email list is a great way for us to send you information about when that BackerKit teaser page goes live, and can look for you there. And again, we'll be posting a lot more information and updates there as well.
There's a lot of reasons, behind the scene reasons that why we chose BackerKit over other crowdfunding campaign platform, but that's gonna be probably the next some future topics to talk about.
We want to definitely let people know like what our reasons were and stuff like that. So, but we'll talk about that, and again, we're happy to answer any questions about that choice. But we're excited about it. Like, it's going to be BackerKit's really excited about working with us. And there's going to be a lot of cool things coming out of that, out of that partnership. As far as other announcements, we're going to be having some fun stuff for PAX U as well. For anybody that's going to PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia, we won't be present. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it this year, but we will have Sword World there and have a fun little quest you can play along with. So once again, follow us by email on our socials. We'll talk about what that looks like and what that experience will be like. But there'll be a fun way to interact with Sword World at PAX U. So definitely keep an eye out for that. So those are kind of our announcements, and we're excited about it. Again, we're going to be sharing that information more and more as we go forward.
Another thing that we can talk about is alongside of the PAX U, the same weekend there's a 3 major conventions that we locally and then also internationally wanted to attend. And then, so other than PAX U, other one is a Tokyo Game Market, which I'm going actually. And then Sean is going to be going to the Planet Anime, which is a Kansas City local conventions about featuring the anime and celebration of the anime. And then he's going to be actually...
Yeah, I'll have a few panels if anybody is in Kansas City and wants to join. Or come check it out. If you happen to be in Kansas City, come check us out. Level 1, our game store is actually hosting the tabletop room. So, persons on at PAX U have a chance to see those in the future. I can't talk too much about what we're doing at PAX U, but it'll be fun. And I don't think if you're not at PAX U, you're going to be missing out on anything that is just, super impactful. I would say it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be something that fun for people at PAX U, not meant to punish anybody for not going to PAX U. So hopefully that answers your question. So that's kind of our news and announcements. If you're in Tokyo Game Market, look for her there. If you're in Kansas City, look for me at Planet Anime. And if you're at PAX U, check out our quests once we announce that and what that looks like.
And then for the quest, please join our Discord. It's a Discord I forgot the URL, but gg/swordrpg is our server. We're gonna have some interaction in the Discord as well.
Yeah. So, so going on to the topic for today, I'm sure, which is what a lot of people were joining for. Again, we'll answer any questions as we go. So if you have any questions about anything, definitely jump in. But as far as like Sword World and its kind of influence on media in Japan, it helps to go kind of back to the beginning a little bit. I talked about this in a previous stream, and it may be a little familiar for anybody that already knows the history of Sword World, but Sword World, the RPG itself, comes from a group of RPG players that they called themselves Group Syntax, who were playing Dungeons and Dragons together in college, and one of them started writing down their adventures in a narrative way. So instead of, explicitly writing like, so and so rolled, a 17 and successfully hit, they wrote it in a more narrative, like story driven way. And they started sending in those sessions to a magazine called Comtic Magazine, and those started getting published as kind of what's considered one of the very first like replays. And it became immensely popular, and that became Record of Lodoss War. They wanted to continue sharing Record of Lodoss War and their adventures with the world, and so they were wanting to put like kind of the Dungeons and Dragons name on it, and they were told by TSR that they couldn't do that, and that they couldn't work with Dungeons and Dragons in that way. So they came up with the idea, or were convinced to come up with the idea, to come up with the Sword World RPG. So that was in the late 80s, and there really wasn't a super popular RPG system in Japan at the time. Dungeons and Dragons hadn't really taken off, and the other ones that had kind of come before had kind of come and went. And so this was a really big exposure chance for Sword World to influence what would become the tabletop gaming scene in Japan. So Sword World launches and becomes kind of the de facto RPG system in Japan. And there's a lot of like credit for why that is, and that leads into kind of its influence on how RPGs are used in Japan, how they're played. One of the big credits for that, TSR had a lot of challenges with how they handled licensing, from what I've read and been told. But the result was, like, one of the big things was, like, D&D in particular didn't want to change the form factor of their books. So they were still using, like, a letter size like we would use here in the West. Sword World went to what is, like, considered called, like, the bunko size, or the small, like, light novel size. And that became, like, a lot more popular. In fact, I have book 2 here. So this smaller form factor was something that people could pick up really easily. It was inexpensive, it was easy to buy, easy to transport, and made a lot more sense in the Japanese gaming scene. And so more people found Sword World to be accessible than like having to buy the specialty size of Dungeons and Dragons. And that again influenced kind of the direction of how game books were designed and made in Japan. On the flip side, mentioning Record of Lodoss War, its influences was immediate and very impactful, because besides being written as an article in Comtic Magazine, it was compiled into a light novel, which wasn't particularly popular at the time. Like, they existed, but Record of Lodoss War was like one of the early big hits for that small, like, when I say light novel, again, that sort of bunko size book, and really started to popularize the format. Yeah, exactly. Like, the book size is great for like trains, for transporting with you, and people were really excited to like consume that content that way. And fantasy hadn't really taken off in Japan the same way that it had here. Again, I've kind of talked about this elsewhere, but Tolkien and Lord of the Rings got a really bad translation in the 70s. And so it hadn't really become the de facto fantasy format or storytelling experience that it is in the West. So Record of Lodoss War takes off alongside some other fantasy light novels at the same time, and really like defined what fantasy felt like for Japan. Again, talking about specific influences, things like If you've watched any anime like Magic Crests, and schools of magic being not just like amorphous, but having like, rigidly defined disciplines, were things that came out of Sword World and those other influences in that way. So they would go on and shape like how fantasy is written about, how fantasy stories are told, and that influence made its way into video games as well, in terms of like how JRPGs have their stories shaped. For instance, another direct influence from the way that Record of Lodoss War's storytelling existed in that narrative format was that the idea of group narrative, like it is a group traveling together rather than like the solo hero, was a big like influential aspect of like, again, how people interact with that fantasy storytelling. So you saw that in like video games, right? It's not that Sword World or the Record of Lodoss War created the concept of like a party dynamic, but you saw it kind of become the set standard for like how JRPGs existed when you interacted with your party. Dragon Quest came before Sword World, but like that sort of group storytelling, and like Final Fantasy very much also there's no, I will be clear, I don't think there's any direct like evidence that like Final Fantasy like took from Sword World, but they definitely had a lot of overlap. We've talked previously about like Amino-san doing the art for Sword World and doing the art for Final Fantasy, influencing the world building. But a lot of these like fantasy dynamics of how magic works, how group works, how the Adventurers Guild is another like big influencer that came out of Sword World and Record of Lodoss War. Especially the Adventurers Guild is another big like area of influence that has become like ubiquitous in like Japanese fantasy at this point. But like the Adventurers Guild was really a big concept out of Sword World as a way to tell quick adventures. And this touches on another topic that we want to talk about in the future, but like the way that RPGs are played in Japan, because of the small spaces that people have, not necessarily having a house to share, or if they do, it's a smaller space. So people being able to get together between the smaller spaces and the long work schedules and the difficult travel by train and stuff like that meant that you would want to have a self-contained story. Because for all of us that have played a lot of RPGs, when your group breaks down, right? Like it's, we have scheduling conflicts. We don't know when we're going to get together. You've got that group like, well, it's been 6 months since we last met. That's also a very big thing in Japan. But Sword World, through its like Adventurers Guild dynamic, meant that it was like, okay, whoever can show up, we're going to have a self-contained adventure today. And that became like a popular way to experience role-playing games in Japan. And the Adventurers Guild was a narrative way and a mechanical way to reinforce. It's like, you showed up, let's get a party together, let's go on this quest today. We know it's going to be getting scheduling conflicts always tougher than the final boss in an RPG campaign. But like having that sort of narrative direction helped make RPGs more approachable to people, and made it so that people didn't feel like they had to make it to every session, or they didn't have to participate in that way. So that really like shaped how, again, RPGs were written, digested, existed in Japan, which is even up to today with the way Call of Cthulhu is presented, and it's more bite-sized sessions as opposed to long narrative campaigns. So it's the isekai, is another, like isekai anime are really credited, owe a lot of credit to Sword World and that sort of early fantasy dynamic. Obviously there's a lot of influence from JRPG like video games, but again, that sort of structure was all melding and growing at the same time in like the late 80s, early 90s, when Sword World was taking off, when Record of Lodoss War was taking off, and then when they were like Dragon Quests and so on. So you started to see this influence that even trends to today through how these party dynamics, how these stories are told and stuff like that, which is, I found really fascinating as we've like dug into the history of Sword World and its influence. So I'm trying to read this quick note. So I got,
No, it's real. I will, from the Nishin Core Games.
Oh, yeah. How's it going? But yeah, so, Sword World has set the tropes, has set a lot of what we consider to be like defining JRPG elements through the way that it was played by the players in that early era of fantasy in Japan. Because really, prior to Sword World, it was a lot of sci-fi, which is why you see a lot of hi again. It was a lot of sci-fi was really popular prior to your Sword World and Record of Lodoss War era and influence. And so that's also why you see a lot of Magitech in Sword World, which then became kind of a defining feature of Japanese fantasy as well. Like, again, look at Final Fantasy or a lot of other fantasy, in Japan. There's tends to be a technology element to the magic as well. And again, that was like very much popularized by like Sword World wanting to pull in some sci-fi elements and wanting to pull in all these other storytelling elements that felt distinct to Sword World, etc. So some other like quick hit fun facts, like Sword World also like really like popularized the dog version of kobolds in Japanese media. So like kobolds in Japan are typically depicted as like Shiba Inus or other dogs. So that's like something that they really set on. Orcs having like pig noses is another like common thing. So like when you look at Zelda and the pig nose like kind of orcs there, like that came from Sword World's influence from like early D&D and them wanting to kind of keep that sort of design element around their characters. So again, it's really fascinating to see like what Sword World has pulled in and done. Yeah, Phantasy Star was one that seems like that was one of the ones that seems to pull pretty heavily from Sword World. Again, it's hard to say like, oh, it definitely was directly influenced, but when doing our research in Japanese, like it was one of the ones that was like, oh yeah, there are a lot of elements that seem very directly correlated with Sword World. Dog bolds. Yeah, no. If you haven't seen them, go look up like Dungeon Meshi has a really or not. Yeah, Dungeon Meshi has a dog kobold that's
Delicious
really cute.
in Dungeon,
Yeah, Delicious in Dungeon. And then again in Sword World themselves, it's all the kobolds are Shiba Inus or other dogs, which is pretty great. I wasn't familiar with that. I'll have to look that up.
Read that.
The comment was Sword World basically made Dark Elves. I'll have to go read up on that. The Phantasy Star RPG. I haven't checked it out. I'll have to go look at that too. Because there's a lot of like fun stuff that's developed, and we're just really excited to be working on Sword World because of that influence and because of what it is. It's a great system. It's a great story, but it's so cool to be able to have this come over to English really for the first time outside of again fan translations and the work that people have done there. But it'll be I don't know, it's gonna be really cool to see what RPGs became, what fantasy became in Japan, separate from like D&D, because of D&D just not really having that influence there. So that kind of runs through the topic from off the top of my head from what I had prepared. But yeah, we're happy to answer any questions or talk through anything anybody wants to talk about while we've got everybody here. Because we just like being connected to y'all. So
we're gonna be having a meeting with the group Vicinity actually tonight. If you have any questions that you want us to pass along, you can comment on that too. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the
Puritas. I'm blanking on that. 1 second.
Will?
Yeah, I see you, Will. Puritas from Lodoss War. Pyrotas? Why am I blanking? I have definitely watched. Oh, I got you. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I'm with you now. Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. As far as the influence and so on. Yeah. I don't. I'll have to look into like how that became like incorporated into the rest of fantasy from there. But I'm getting what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Allowances for community-driven content is something that we will be talking with Group S&E about. We have talked with them in a limited capacity about it. Licensing is very different in Japan, so it's kind of an ongoing discussion as to how that will be handled. It is our intention that we want people to be able to access Sword World as easily and readily as they can. So we are trying to determine what community-driven content will look like from a licensing and legal perspective. So I can't say more than that right now, but we're very aware that there is interest in that, and we will be trying to provide clear information on that as soon as we have it available. So yeah, we'll have to come back to you on that one.
Next question is that will the publisher have an official YouTube channel?
YouTube channel, yeah, probably. We haven't quite set that up yet. We've been really focused on the early design and translation process, and we're just now starting to get like these live streams going and stuff. But we'll definitely talk amongst ourselves and see if we can set up a YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube. Sorry. That's the person posting right now is our marketing person. So I didn't know that we were posting to it. There we go. Yeah. As far as like the tons of back and forth, that's absolutely right. William mentioning changing the source material is slow and takes back and forth. Yeah, Group S&E has been very open, very cool. We can't say enough positive things about them. They've been great to work with, but there is a process of like, we want to be respectful. We want to make sure that whatever their intentions are and their wishes are respected. So we do have to we check in with them regularly. We come to them with topics and say, this is what we're looking at. How do you all feel about this? How can we accomplish these goals? And then we get to have that discussion with them. So, it can be a slow process, but anytime you all mention things like, wanting community, content, anytime you all mention specific supplements, those become part of the conversation that we have with Group S&E. As far as the tribute for live plays, I'm sure we'll be posting anything as far as live plays are concerned. I'm sure that'll be a discussion in like the Discord, and again, we anything we push out through email. Publishing our own replays. I don't know if my campaigns will be fun enough. If you're talking about me particularly, I don't know if any of mine would be fun enough for you all to enjoy them. I enjoy playing with my friends, but I don't know that they're like exciting in the grand scheme of things. But we can consider it. So starter edition, we are heavily considering a starter edition. We're looking into it right now. Again, we're very focused on making sure that the core rules are translated and localized, and then we have all the content we need there. That's going very well, but is a slow process. And then we're going to be evaluating what it would take to get a starter box or a starter set into the campaign as well. It is at the top of our our list in terms of stuff we would like to add to the campaign, but we don't want to fumble the core rules just to try and fit a starter edition. But as of right now, we would like to, and we will be announcing it as soon as we know for sure we can do it.
And for the people that haven't heard of the starter set, this is one of them, and then this is another one. They have two published in Japan. It has a lot of. It's kind of smaller box set than the like a D&D starter set, but it has a weight to it. It has a lot of contents, a lot of cards, items, and pre-gen characters and all that.
Yeah, we'll be talking a little bit about that in the future, but again, keep in touch about updates. Somebody was asking about the best place to get updates. Discord, we're pretty good about posting updates there. Our email list is probably the cleanest because we'll put all of our updates together and then put them in to email there. And then at the beginning of the stream, we mentioned that we will be launching a backer kit teaser. And so signing up there as we put announcements, you'll be able to follow there as well. And then of course, to learn about when that teaser goes live, follow our email and sign up by email at our website or join our Discord. Yeah. Is it this one? This one or this one? The
RPG building.
Oh, the RPG. Oh yeah, Fencer Girl. Yeah, there. Yeah, that box is really cool. So something to be excited about. We'd like to do this eventually as well. Since it got brought up, this is really cool because it's basically like an RPG builder in a box, which makes it really like fascinating from a design perspective. Like it's got like clear sheets that you can like keep your character information in, and you actually literally like build your character sheet out of like cards that you can slot in and behind. So you'll have equipment cards, you'll have character information cards, and it actually is like assembling in a card system. So you can like build everything you need out of the box without having to like track it on like a sheet of paper or whatever. Yeah, it's really, really kind of a cool product and experience way to do an RPG telling, because you can build your character, play it, and then tear it back down and put it back in the box if you want to, or keep it and keep playing with it, et cetera, because it's got like leveling up mechanics and stuff in there. So we're looking at that one. There's a lot of components in there, but it's definitely on our list because it's a very unique sort of system for playing. So any other questions? I did mention earlier, like, we will be talking with Group S&E tonight, so if you have anything, feel free to like post it here, or like send us open a ticket on Discord is another good way to reach out to us. I think somebody also, before I forget, asked about working with freelancers. The best way we are open to it. We have a pretty good team in place right now, but it doesn't hurt to reach out to us. Again, opening a ticket on Discord, or shooting us an email. Again, our email's on our website. I think it's contact@mugengaming.com. And so just, feel free to reach out. We want to be open. We want to be able to talk to people, and give anybody any updates that they have. But if you have any questions, again, that you want to pass on to Group S&E, we'll try and ask them. Yeah, that's the thing is like we would need to make sure that there's enough interest to make it, because it's a lot of components, and you don't want it to be so expensive. Like we wouldn't want it to be like $100 box set or something like that, because then it's like kind of defeating the purpose of it.
Another question: are you going to be able to share pledge levels at some point before launch?
Yes, we will be doing that. Most likely, it'll be. Don't hold me to this, but I imagine most likely to be about 90 days before launch. So there'll be a little bit of time. Obviously, we'll probably have to nail some stuff down in that 90 days, but that's kind of our target. And then, yeah, I mean, I think there are people that would pay it. So not saying no, just saying like we have to investigate it. Somebody was saying that they'd pay that for the box set. And then, but yeah, as far as the pledge levels, we'd like to announce in advance. And then VTT companies, we are looking at that as well. We know that VTTs are like a large way that people play RPGs these days. So it's definitely on the radar. It's on our development roadmap. We haven't nailed down which VTT quite yet and exactly when that would happen in relation to the campaign, but it's absolutely on our list because, like, for instance, my brother plays almost exclusively on Roll20, and he plays RPGs every week. So, like, there are people that VTTs are like the way to play. So we're very much like, that's very much important to us as well. Sorry, one question is something you've mentioned previous stream about changing how some content is released is sometimes maybe repetitive. Is there a way to... What will be the best way to handle some content that's not from 2.5? Updates, a lot of 2.0. Yeah, so, like, how to incorporate that. I don't have a clean answer for you on how to answer, I think, the question that you're asking. The best way for me to talk about that is, like, somebody's talking about mentioning the repetitive content because it can be that way with the way the books are produced and the way that they're structured in Japan. one of our big areas of emphasis is making sure that the content is organized in a way that makes sense for how books are published in the U.S. And so we don't want to have just a bunch of repetitive content. We'd like for it to be, very clean, very much feel like you're getting your value there. And so we are looking at, and that's one of the things we're like talking with Group S&E very directly about, is how do we potentially reorganize the content so that it is clean and flows well and fits into the most efficient number of books, for instance. So, I can't say a lot more than that, but like that is something that we're very much considering because we know that there is some repetition in content at times. And then see you on Foundry. Foundry is one of the ones that we're talking about for VTTs. And then we talked a little bit about how we got connected with Group S&E, but the short retelling is that we actually ran into them. We were launching our first game, which was here. There it is. Kyrie the Duel, which was our little card game. We were launching that at Essen in 2023. And I happened to meet some Japanese people on a train platform in Essen, Germany. And she said, "Hello, I'm Japanese. You seem to be Japanese. Are you all here for the show?" And they said, "Well, yes. Do you know who we are?" And we're like, "No." And she's like, "No, we haven't met you before." And they're like, "Oh, well, that's Yasuda-san. And we're Group S&E." And it was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's cool." So she just started talking with them there on the train platform, said hi, went our separate ways, and then fast forward, and we were at Gen Con the following year, and they needed a translator to talk to the head of Gen Con, and then some like media that were there wanted to talk to Yasuda-san from Group S&E, and so she ended up being a translator for him there. And got to talk to him a little bit more. And in that time, we had started looking at publishing more games after Kyrie, and we started talking to him, and they had informed us that like Sword World was not, being the best ability is availability, I think. But yeah, like started talking to them about some of their other stuff, and they were like, "Well, Sword World's spoken for." And we're like, "That's cool. Like, we're interested in maybe some of your murder mystery stuff that you're working on. We think that could be really exciting in the US." And just we're talking about other games, and eventually they were like, "Well, actually, do you want to just work on Sword World?" And we're like, "Well, yeah, that'd be awesome. We would love to do that." And so that's how we got connected to Group S&E, and that's how we started working on Group S&E.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know, but like we mentioned that in the beginning. We own the board game shop for the Level 1 game shop. This is our 9th year. Next year is the 10th anniversary. And then we talked about what we do at the game shop as well, and how we are connected to the industry and all that with the Group S&E as well. And I started writing the column about it in the Warlock magazine that Group S&E publishes as well. From the volume 16 and 17. I have 2 pages.
Yeah. So it's a lot of overlap there, but yeah, it is a series of very coincidental meetups that ended up leading to the relationship, and Yasuda-san's such an interesting person, so that's been great to just even talk with him each time we've had the chance to meet. Technically, someone else did have the Sword World license. Katakawa in Japan had the license. Has the license for everything else but English currently, and they were working on it, but they were maybe not moving as quickly as Group S&E was looking for, is the way I would put it, and so they were looking to work with someone in the West that would be able to bring it to market a little bit faster. Is the story on that? So that's who had the license, and that was what was going on there. And then the tackling the pros, we're going to run out of time here in a minute, so I'm going to try and get through these questions. And as a reminder, like, feel free to shoot us questions later too, and we'll try and answer them. But tackling pros, or tackling like the actual voice of the system is definitely going to be again an emphasis of ours. It can and will be a challenge, but it's our intention to try and capture it the best that we can through eyes translation, and then going through and doing some translation, checking it against what the original feels like, and trying to make sure that the nuance is still kind of there and the story and the voice is still there. And then we'll be running it by like Group S&E to make sure that they approve of how we're handling the voice and the storytelling as well. So we're trying to do that the best we can. I'd like to say we'll do it perfectly. I don't know that there is such a thing as doing it perfectly. But we are trying to build that into our process to make sure that we capture it the best that we can. Yeah. Yeah, definitely say hi to us at Gen Con. We almost certainly will be there next year. We're waiting to find out what our booth status is right now, because they like decide that really early. But we did apply for a booth. We intend to be there, but we'll probably be there either way. But we're hoping to have our own booth as Sword World next year. So we are a little past the time that we expected to go to. We've been trying to aim for about 30 minutes. We really appreciate all of you joining us today. It's been a pleasure as always. I've said it a couple of times, but I'll say it again. Definitely drop us a ticket on Discord. Send us an email if you have any questions. Happy to talk about it. We're going to keep doing these. We're shooting for every 2 weeks. I can't promise it'll happen every time. Adepticon, I don't know yet. We'll have to look at that. We know I actually haven't been to Adepticon, but that'd probably be a good one for us to go to. And if you all have any other cons that you think we should definitely check out or definitely go to, that's another thing that we'd love to hear. Just be like, hey, I think would be a really good con for you. We'd love to hear about it. We're excited. We would love to have been at PAX U this year. We'll almost certainly be there in the future. Gen Con for sure. We're at Gamma, which is an industry one. So those of you that are in the gaming industry, we'll be there. And so, any other cons that you all can think of, we'd be happy to check it out. So cool. Yeah. So thank you all again. Follow on Discord, follow by email, and we'll have more announcements soon. And I'm hoping to announce some really exciting stuff pretty soon, but we got to finish it up. But there should be some really exciting stuff coming very soon. So thank you all again. And let's talk about Adepticon offline. And that'd be cool. Yeah, let's definitely talk about it offline. So DragonCon, we should definitely check out as well. So, but thank you again. You all have a wonderful day, and we will catch you next time.